DJ Payne 1.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the CEO Sports Show for September 29, 2025. I'm sorry. I had a brain fart there. I'm sorry. My brain is fried right now from watching the great football that we saw over the weekend. What a weekend for football, guys. If you guys haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Make sure to go check out the other pages on the Kretschman Media Network. I would greatly appreciate that. They're on the homepage of this page. So before we get into the episode, please make sure to do that. All right, now let's get into it because we have to talk about this game. We have to talk about it. Can you say that the Cowboys-Packers was the game of the year? I mean, I don't think you can because it ended in a tie, and that was very disappointing. But I think you could say it was definitely up there. So, when I look at this game and I look at how it turned out, this is why the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. What you saw from the Packers defense against the Cowboys, that is why the Cowboys traded Micah Parsons. Because yeah, Micah Parsons is a great player. And yes, teams have to pay so much attention to him because of the disruption that he provides to a defense. But at the end of the day, you can take him out of games and your defense could still get shredded by an opposing offense. And we saw that tonight from the Dallas Cowboys. And when you talk about trading 2 first-round picks for a guy and the type of cap space that you're going to give up over the next few years here, to have a guy that could be taken out of a game like this. Not only that, you give up Kenny Clark as well. This is what I was saying when I said that the Packers overpaid for Micah Parsons. You do not trade that many assets for a player that can get taken out of a game like that. He had 1 sack tonight, and yeah, it was a very important play. No doubt about it. The Cowboys probably score a touchdown on that play, and we're not, the Cowboys win this game. But at the end of the day, over the course of this game, the reason why the Cowboys were able to be as effective as they were on the offensive side of the ball is because Micah Parsons got taken out of the game. They had a plan for him. And we saw that in the playoffs year after year after year when it came to the Cowboys. It didn't matter that they had Micah Parsons. It didn't matter. The opposing team had a plan and they took him out of the game. And I'm looking at this, and I see a tale of 2 teams here, right? Because the talk going into today, everybody picked the Packers. Even though the Cowboys tied in this game, I look at this as a win for the Cowboys because everybody was taking the Packers. Everyone was saying, oh, the Packers, they're going to win this game. They're going to blow the Cowboys out. Dan Orlovsky said that they were going to win by 3 touchdowns. They didn't. And as a matter of fact, Dallas probably should have won this game. If there wasn't that lucky 1 second left on the clock at the end of the game, they lose this game. And you talk about a team like Dallas who was on the ropes. They were missing, 3 offensive linemen or two of their starting offensive linemen. They were missing their best player in CeeDee Lamb. The defense was playing the way it has over the past few weeks. And you can't get a win against that team. That's bad if you're the Packers and you're a team that you got to win a Super Bowl. over these next few years here, let's hold them to a standard, because we like to hold a team like the Cowboys to a standard. You got to win a Super Bowl, Super Bowl or bust. Well, they traded for Micah Parsons. So guess what? The reason why they made that trade is because that was a win now move. And guess what? Packers got to win now. That's the standard they have to be held to, because you have all these nerdy analysts on ESPN, Dan Orlovsky, Mina Kimes. This is a legit Super Bowl team. Well, they better win a Super Bowl over these next few years here with Micah Parsons, or I better hear you on your crappy shows talking about that the Green Bay Packers overpaid for Micah Parsons, because they did. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to give the Cowboys credit for making a tough decision that might end up working out for them. You're not going to win a Super Bowl paying Micah Parsons or any edge rusher that type of money. You're taking up too much of the cap space. So I look at this, if I'm the Packers, I look at this as we lost this game, because you were the heavy favorite. You were a, 6.5 point road favorite? Oh, what are we doing here? Like, if they were playing at Lambeau Field, you're talking about the Packers being double-digit favorites. The only reason why they were a touchdown favorite was because they were playing in Dallas. If they were playing in Lambeau, they would be 10-point favorites. And you go into this game, and defensively, you can't stop anything. And yeah, offensively, you're able to move the ball. Everybody's able to move the ball in the Cowboys defense. It's not a good unit. I don't know. The alarms are on if I'm a Packers fan, or if I'm in that building, because that was not a good showing from them defensively. That was bad. That was piss poor. And Dak Prescott was able to do whatever he wanted in this game, which is why, like, I do want to. We'll wait to talk about Dak Prescott and his impact on this game. But like, I'm looking at this game, to be honest with you, Dallas should have won this game. I mean, they shot themselves in the foot time after time after time after time. And unfortunately, that was the theme for the Eagles game and for this game. But I mean, defensively, that's where you looked at that and you said, wow, you got a long way to go as a football team. But I mean, like, look, I don't think all hope is lost for the Cowboys being a playoff team. I don't see that at all. I thought that they were going to lose this game, and I thought that you were looking at a situation where they were going to go 2-1 over their next 3 games, because they're going to beat the Jets and the Panthers. Everybody beats those teams. They're going to go 2-0 in those games. And then at that point, you're sitting at a 3-2-1 record going into a Commanders game. I mean, that's huge. But I mean, you look at what Dallas was able to do over the air with Dak Prescott and George Pickens. That was special. Dak had that insane throw to George Pickens. It was a 34-yard gain down the sidelines. I mean, 124.9 passer rating. He was sacked 1 time, which, to be honest with you, like, really, like, yeah, they counted as a sack, but I don't know. Obviously, it was a sack, but I mean, another game where, second game in a row, he's 31 for 40, but he was just utterly efficient in this game, man. Utterly efficient. Kevontae Turpin making big plays there. They were able to run the ball. They were doing some things. They were wearing out the Packers defense. By the end of the game, it looked like they wanted nothing to do with playing another defensive snap. And that's where you have to look. Is that a scoregami? That's insane. But like, I believe that Brian Schottenheimer deserves a ton of credit for his play calling in this game. Because by the end of the game, the Packers wanted nothing to do with playing defense. Nothing. And ultimately, you saw it pay dividends. They ran the ball effectively. They weren't running the ball effectively at the beginning of the game. But as the game started to go on and as the game started to progress, you saw that the Packers, they got worn down. And they started to run the ball more effectively towards the end of the game. That's why you throw those body shots, even if you're not effective. Even though I do actually think the Cowboys, even though the stats might not have reflected it, I actually do think they were doing some good things on the ground in the first half. I never said, hey, you might need to start airing this ball out because you're not getting anything going. I didn't think that at all. But this Cowboys run game has been very surprising so far. I mean, they're one of the most efficient rushing attacks in football. Who had that on their bingo card? Because I sure as hell didn't. So, I mean, look, if you're the Packers, right, they did some things on the ground, 4.7 yards per attempt. It didn't feel like that. It felt like the Cowboys did a pretty good job of bottling that up. But like when you look at like the Cowboys and their ability to run the ball, and then like other teams and their ability to run the ball, you have to look at what these quarterbacks are running for, right? Because Dak Prescott's not going to give you that much on the ground. But Jordan Love gave you 3 carries for 28 yards. 9.3 yards per attempt. That's going to help the stat sheet. But when you get Josh Jacobs, 3.9 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, though, I actually do think that Josh Jacobs did some pretty good things this game. Not just as a running back, but as a receiver as well, which, by the way, I appreciate that. I have you on my fantasy team, so appreciate the performance today. Matthew Golden, I mean, that looks like they hit on that pick. But, like, my thing with Matthew Golden is, like, is he one of these Packers receivers where it's like he's good, he's really good, but he's not like a number one bona fide receiver? I think I might be seeing that from Matthew Golden. Which, by the way, like worth the first round pick, where they drafted him, the type of player that I think he's going to be in the league. Like, yeah, he's obviously worth that. But you have to ask yourself the question, is he going to be that bona fide number one receiver? Because I don't know if I see that in Matthew Golden's future. Now, it is still very early, but I think that he's the type of guy where he's just a really, really good number 2 receiver, like an elite number 2 receiver, and not a number 1 receiver, which again is fine, because if you draft an elite number 2 wide receiver in the first round, that's a good pick. But I want to move on to looking at both of these teams. When I look at the Cowboys coming out of this game, this was a win for them. Like, even though they tied this game, this was a win. They needed something like this. They needed to show that one of the better teams in the NFC they can compete with. With that awful performance that they had against the Chicago Bears in week 3, they needed a clapback game. And for as much adversity as they faced going into this game, right? You're down Tyler Booker, the fantastic rookie. You're down Cooper Beebe, their emerging center. You're down CeeDee Lamb. You have all of these things going on. Your defense isn't playing good. For you to go out there and have the type of performance that you had against the Green Bay Packers, you got to look at this as a win. There's no doubt about it. And when you look at Dak Prescott, he's playing at a very high level. Dak Prescott is one of the very best quarterbacks in football. He has solidified that so far this season. Even in that game against the Bears, where everyone was like, oh, he threw 2 interceptions. You also didn't watch the game if your takeaways. He threw 2 interceptions. Bad game, Dak. Like, you look at this game, and this is why he gets paid what he gets paid. This is why paying him the $60 million, it's not an overpay, which, by the way, I don't know how anybody's saying that that's a bad contract right now, because this is his first year playing on that $60 million contract. Last year, he was playing on the $40 million contract, which when you look at the offensive output that they had in those years, I'd say Dak was definitely worth the money. And what we're seeing so far from Dak this year, if he's going to continue this over the course of that 4-year contract, oh yeah, he's worth that money. He's worth that money. And this is my thing when it comes to Dak Prescott. When we look at a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, where he doesn't have to do that much, but he wins games and everyone's like, oh, well, he's just a winner. He's an elite quarterback. But then people will look at Dak Prescott and say, oh, well, he doesn't win the big games. But like, it's a team effort. It's a team effort. Winning football games is a team effort. Dak Prescott did literally everything he could in this game and still lost. So that's why I always get very frustrated when people talk about wins being a quarterback stat, because this is the reason why. Dak Prescott literally did everything in this game. Dak Prescott did pretty much everything he could in that week 1 game against Philly. Dak Prescott, I thought, had a really good game in week 3, and they fell short in that game. Like, this is why wins are not a quarterback stat. And this is why he is absolutely in the conversation for top 5. I know there's people out there that are big-time Herbert fans. He's nowhere close to Justin Herbert, man. Shut up. Get over yourself. Seriously. This guy, no doubt about it, deserves to be in top 5 conversations. I don't think there's a gap between him and Justin Herbert. Not at all. I don't think there's a gap between him and Matthew Stafford. Not at all. This dude gets the job done. He's one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. He's so good at dealing with pressure. And this is why, like, my thing with, Dak Prescott and why I separate Dak Prescott from a lot of other quarterbacks in the league is because he deals with pressure better than pretty much every quarterback in the league. Like, there are very few quarterbacks in the NFL that deal with pressure to the level that Dak Prescott deals with pressure. It's very impressive to see. And like, my thing when it comes to quarterbacks is, if you could deliver the ball in a clean pocket, congrats. You could do something that 20 plus quarterbacks in the NFL can do. It is about how you deal when you're under pressure. And when Dak is under pressure, he can still deliver the ball, make plays happen, escape the pocket, use his legs to throw the ball down the field, like we saw with that Tolbert play. And like, look, the Cowboys offensive line, as currently constructed with the injuries that they've had, is not that good. Didn't matter. Dak Prescott knows how to deal with a pass rush. He's one of the most confident quarterbacks in the league. He's confident in himself. He's confident in his team. He's confident in his play caller. And you're really starting to see that right now. That's why the Cowboys can still make the playoffs, because they have one of the very best quarterbacks in the NFL. And there is no debating that at the current moment. He is in that top 5 to 7 range. I think 7 is the lowest you could put Dak Prescott. But this year, how many quarterbacks are you taking over Dak? I don't think that you could make a case that for this season, Dak Prescott's been the best quarterback in the NFL. He has been the most consistent quarterback in the NFL, because I thought he played well against the Bears. He was excellent in this game, the Giants game, and the Eagles game. He's been I'll go out and say it. Dak Prescott's been the best quarterback in the NFL this year. Now that I think about it, it's becoming even more clear to me. There is nobody that has been as consistent over the first few games of the season as Dak Prescott. He hasn't had a single bad game this year. He hasn't even had a single mediocre game this year, even against the Bears. He had a very good game that game. He cannot catch the ball for his receivers. And when you look at the fact that he was down CeeDee Lamb in this game, down some offensive linemen against one of what people told me, their words, not mine, against one of the best defenses in football, this dude was, every single time he needed to make a play, he made a play. Every single time. And he put his team in a position to win. At the end of the day, football is a team sport. Wins are not a quarterback stat. And I hope this game would prove it even more, because of the fact that Dak literally did everything he could to win this game. And the Cowboys defense is really bad. It doesn't have much talent on it. It's not well coached. And because of that, the Cowboys gave up 40 points. And offensively, they did score 38 points. I will say that. I will be fair for argument here. But 38 points against the Packers in that pass rush. I mean, 31 for 40, 319 yards, 8 yards per attempt, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? That's an extremely impressive performance. So, salute to Dak for his performance. Played at a very high level. And I want to move on here. I want to move on to the Chiefs game against the Baltimore Ravens. Let me find the box score so that I can tell the full picture of the game, because this is going to be a game that a lot of people talk about. The Chiefs absolutely beat down the Baltimore Ravens in Arrowhead Stadium, bringing the record to 2-2 for the season. And now the Ravens are 1-3. And you have to ask yourself the question when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens, is it finally time to get rid of John Harbaugh? I shouldn't say get rid, move on, because that's a little disrespectful saying that. But I mean, the Baltimore Ravens aren't going anywhere this year. They're not getting to a Super Bowl. They're not getting the AFC Championship game. Hell, they might not even win their division this year. And when you look at this team, they are plenty talented. I'm not putting this on Lamar. I mean, I don't think Lamar played well at all against the Chiefs in this game. But I would also say this, like, Lamar has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football this year. So I'm not going to place this at the feet of one of the best quarterbacks in football. I'm going to look at the coach who, yes, he did win a Super Bowl prior to Lamar Jackson's arrival. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the same thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is good enough? Is really good enough? Or do you want to be great? If you want to be great, I just don't know if John Harbaugh is the right guy for the job when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens. Because at the end of the day, you got to win a Super Bowl here. When you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback, there are organizations that have waited 60, 70 years to draft a quarterback as good as Lamar Jackson. And the Baltimore Ravens have that right on their team. And they still haven't been able to win a championship. I don't know, guys. I think that the Ravens have to make this tough decision. And I get it. It's a great culture that John Harbaugh built. It's a great organization. And John Harbaugh has done some really, really great things with this football team, even with Lamar Jackson. But you have to ask the question, ultimately, is good enough? Is really good enough? Is great good enough? Because even though they've been great, it still hasn't been enough. And is it unfair? Yes, it's unfair. And does some of this have to go at Lamar Jackson's feet as well because of some of his playoff performances? Yes. But at the end of the day, John Harbaugh is the coach. It's much easier to find an elite coach than it is to find an elite quarterback. And especially when you have somebody as talented as Lamar Jackson, who, when you look at his overall game, he might be the most well-rounded quarterback that the league has ever seen. Maybe you could say Josh Allen. I think I would go Josh Allen, but I still think Lamar Jackson is absolutely up there. I mean, he is maybe the most well-rounded football player the league's ever seen. And like I said, teams wait 60 to 70 years to draft a guy like Lamar Jackson, and they still don't do it. You're not going to find another Lamar Jackson. You can find somebody as good as John Harbaugh. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I want to talk about the Chiefs here for a second. And I want to say, man, I kind of counted the Chiefs out here. Salute to the Chiefs. They were able to get the job done. And I mean, look, this was as impressive as a performance as you can get. I mean, 37 to 20. To me, it never even really felt like a game. So the Chiefs getting the job done there. Patrick Mahomes was very efficient, 25 for 37, 4 touchdowns, 124.8 passer rating. Xavier Worthy getting the football. Travis Kelce showing some signs of life there, right? Overall, excellent win for the Kansas City Chiefs. I get it. It's against a 1-2 Ravens team who are now 1-3. But at the end of the day, you can't hate them for the effort. So I want to move on to my last topic of today's show. I want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles because the Eagles are so damn interesting to me because in the first half, that offense looked excellent. Jalen Hurts looked fantastic in the first half of that game, and just their team as a whole looked fantastic. But then you get to the second half here, and they just looked flat out anemic. And here's the thing. When it comes to the Eagles, can we stop this whole nonsense when it comes to we don't care about our stats? We just want to win the game. Let me ask you this question. Do you throw 8 passes hoping that you don't complete a single one of them like Jalen Hurts did in the second half of this game? I mean, like, can we be honest about Jalen Hurts? He is a quarterback that is on a fantastic football team, on a fantastic roster. And the reason why I know it's more of the roster than it is Jalen Hurts is because of the fact that they can go one entire half without the quarterback completing one pass. Not even a check down, not even a screen pass, not even a swing pass, nothing. He could go an entire half not completing a single pass, and they can still win on the road against an undefeated football team. If the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl this year, it's going to be because their quarterback is not that good. Like, let's just call it what it is. I understand the resume, But like when we talk about, oh, he's been to 2 Super Bowls, well, that's a team accomplishment. Wins aren't a quarterback stat. And even in that, like Jalen Hurts was so bad against the Rams last year, and they still found a way to win that game. Not because of Jalen Hurts, but because the defense was outstanding. And that to me is more of the story here when it comes to this game, because like the Buccaneers, they outscored them offensively, if I'm not mistaken. The Eagles had so it was 31. They had the block punt. That was 24. And then, so they scored one more offensive point than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there is that. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, I don't think they can go these stretches without being effective at all offensively and expect to win games in the postseason. I get it. They did it last year. I understand that. But like they almost lost to the Rams last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I think this is a stronger NFC at the top of the conference than it was last year. Like I really like what I'm seeing from the Lions here. I would say outside of that, it's probably the Eagles that are there at number 2. I mean, you can even say the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I'm cool with that. I mean, it's still Eagles, Lions, Rams at the top of the conference. I think that the Eagles could lose to both of those teams. And you cannot go an entire half without completing a single pass and expect to win football games. That is an anomaly. That is actually a credit to how well Howie Roseman built this roster, that he could build a team this good that you can get away with that and beat an undefeated team on the road. Just outstanding, like incredible. Their defense, I mean, the Eagles' defense to me they're very impressive. I mean, you talk about the youth that they have on this defense. Jordan Davis looks like a completely different player now than he was throughout the course of his career. Obviously, you have Jalen Carter. You were without Nolan Smith, who's a very good pass rusher. But still, it didn't matter. You were able to do some things defensively. Like Cooper DeJean, I mean, holy cow, this guy is fantastic. I mean, it feels like he had 15 tackles in this game. I'm not as high on Quinyon Mitchell as a lot of other people are, but like that's still a very solid player that they have in their secondary. Their safeties are good with Blankenship and Makuba. Makuba, a rookie. Jahad Campbell made a play in this game with the interception. I mean, he looks like he's going to be a very impressive player. You have Vic Fangio calling plays for that defense. I have no worries about that defense, no concerns about that defense. I have concerns about that quarterback, though. And I'll tell you this, like, we'll see what happens with Dallas, right? If they get them in the first round, I don't think they want to play that game, because that is as lethal of a passing attack as you're going to get in the NFL. Like Dak, Lamb, Pickens, Ferguson, like if they play Dallas round 1, that's going to be a scary game, because Dallas is going to put points on the board, and we saw they can move the ball on that defense, and they can attack that secondary. We saw that already. So I don't know. I mean, look, the defense is flat out impressive, but I'm just not a Jalen Hurts guy. I'm not a Jalen Hurts guy. I respect what he does, being deferential to his teammates and saying, hey, look, I'm not going to put the ball in harm's way. Like, that is a skill, and that is something that I appreciate, but I don't know. I just don't see it from the guy. And then, like, when you talk about the Buccaneers, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like, they were winning going into this game, very much like the Eagles were winning going into this game. I mean, like, they won on the last play of a Falcons game. The Texans game, same thing. Like, they beat the Jets, barely beat them. And then they lost to the Eagles, which, by the way, like, the score doesn't really show you how close this game actually was. Like, the score 31-25, they had a last second safety. Like, the Eagles dominated this game. They dominated them. And like, if you're the Buccaneers, a lot of people are high on them, and a lot of people are now saying like Baker Mayfield is some elite quarterback. And that's not to say I really like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's a very fine quarterback. But he was getting put in some conversations where I was like, oh no, that guy, he has no business being in those conversations. So I think the Buccaneers, they come back to earth here a little bit. And I mean, they're going to have to, going forward, they cannot get into these close games like they have for the first 3 games of this season against, quite frankly, bad football teams. Falcons are a bad football team. Texans are a bad football team. Jets are a bad football team. And they're squeaking out wins against these teams. It's not going to work when you play a team like the Eagles. They're too damn good. So I'm very worried about the Buccaneers. Like, I don't think they're going to win this next game either. They're playing in Seattle, and then they have the Lions. Like, the Buccaneers could lose their next 3 games. Seahawks, 49ers, Lions. They could lose those 3 games. I think they go 1-2 in those games, but they could lose all 3 of them. So I appreciate you guys for coming out. That is going to be it for the CEO Sports Show. I have to get up in the morning and give you guys another show in about 6 hours. So I look forward to doing that. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace.